Morning. Welcome to Ty Sports Picks 24. I'm going to say it again, Ty Sports Picks 24. It's officially football season. We ended week 0. Now it's going to be week 1 of college football. Preseason NFL is over with. Now let's get to the picks. And yes, you see the title was right. Monday morning QBs, meaning Monday morning quarterbacks. Because everybody has something to say. But did you say it before the game? So now for baseball, these are all money line. We got the Cleveland Guardians, Pittsburgh Pirates. Sorry about the lighting. There's nothing I can do about that, but we're going to keep going with the show. We got the Philadelphia Phillies, have the New York Yankees, and the Toronto Blue Jays. All money line. All money line. So I'm going to let you guys lock that in. Also, while you're locking in the picks, don't forget to donate so that we can continue to grow the channel. At $TY Rebel 22. It's also down at the bottom on the Cash App, $TY Rebel 22. The Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok is at TY Sports Picks 24. So please donate to the channel. You know, if it's making you money, if it's helping you with your picks every day. I know we're closing in on playoffs for WNBA and also for the MLB. Hoping for a big October and September. Now, there was a lot going on this weekend. We had college football games. Now, with the college football, the big thing, you know, with the Monday morning quarterbacking was Georgia Tech and Florida State. But not only that, in the positive side with a lot of games that I told you guys, I warned you guys about. I told you guys that New Mexico would cover, but they would probably lose against Montana State. I was thinking of North Dakota State, but that's Colorado. We'll get to that Thursday when Colorado plays North Dakota State. That FCS and FBS thing, you got to be very careful with the lines, even if you think the FCS team's going to win. FAMU defended the crown. You know, Norfolk State gave them all they can handle, but a coaching decision actually helped, you know, decide the fate of that team. The light is okay in the room. I don't know why it's flashing in and out. That's strange. Yeah, I don't know what that's about, but we're gonna keep going on. You know, it's technical difficulty sometimes, but yeah, basically, Norfolk State and FAMU took each other on in Atlanta, Georgia, in a kickoff classic on ABC. It's the first time they've ever had HBCUs in a primetime game on ABC. So shout out to ESPN for supporting, you know, historical black colleges. And FAMU was ranked number 25 in the FCS poll. They'll probably move up depending on, you know, who wins and who loses in week 1, along with, you know, the things that transpired in week 0. I don't believe any ranked teams lost on the FCS level that I know of. But that also was a good game between North Alabama and Tarleton, where North Alabama actually could have won, but they still covered, like I said. But they could have won the game. The only dilemma with that was they were not able to play the running game the way they were able to play the passing game. That comes down to being one-dimensional. That's why you always want a balanced team, and not only that, balanced play calling. Even if the run does not work, you want to run just to give them a look of running so that you can pass. The worst thing you can do is come out there for 4 quarters running the same plays. Eventually, in professionals are at high-level college, and yes, FCS is still high level. You got Division 1A, 1AA, which is FCS. Then you got the Division 2, 3, and then NAIA. So they're still high up. Those are still good athletes. You know, those are the guys that may have made all city, but they didn't make all state, but they're still all something. So you're not just gonna run the same plays on them and on the same level. You got coaches that do this for a living. So a lot of people think because they're more talented that can win. You're gonna see that theme, especially in the beginning of the season. A lot of teams that have a lot of talent on their team, but they haven't coached them up right, a la Florida State, they will be exposed. They will be exposed. That's why you have to do your job, and you have to cover all bases. I don't know what's going on with this lighting thing, but please just bear with me. Because, okay, there we go. I may not use any well, I'm gonna try to do the screen sharing because I was gonna do that, but I don't know what's affecting the light. But when you gonna look at the NFL, we got a lot going on there too. I believe the Pittsburgh Steelers, as we spoke on last episode, they still haven't decided their quarterback. But I think it's going to be Russell Wilson. There's also a lot going on in Cleveland because Deshaun Watson is one of the few starting quarterbacks, along with Aaron Rodgers, that did not play not one snap in the preseason. And he had an injury in his 2023 season, and then in 2022 he had like an 11-game suspension. So he's only played 6 games in those back-to-back seasons. Coming off the suspension, or holdout, whatever it was in 21, and then 2020 he had a great season where he was like the leading passer. So I'm not gonna screen share it. I'll just read it and you guys can listen along. On Athlon it says Cleveland Browns may never know the true cost of Deshaun Watson's contract. The polarizing quarterback has been a disaster for the Browns. That's harsh. Okay. The cost of his place on the roster could be entering its most expensive phase, writes Doug Ferrer. Okay, so we scroll down. We all have those moments in our lives when we've made deals that turn out to be massive mistakes. Okay. Generally speaking, for most of us, they aren't multi-million dollar mistakes that blow up in our faces in a highly public fashion. Then there's the Cleveland Browns, who are going into year 3 of the Deshaun Watson experience. So, yeah, he's been there since 2020, so 24 will make year 3 experience. That has been nothing but an unmitigated disaster. Using some SAT words, unmitigated disaster. But let's move along. Okay, the Browns traded with the Houston Texans for Watson's services on March 18th of 2022 after he had spent the 2021 season off the field embroiled in multiple sexual harassment allegations. Watson was unhappy with his contract before those allegations became public. I'm glad they brought that up because we're not going to say who's telling the truth or who's not, but it was very strange that Watson asked for a new contract, and then out of nowhere, a lawyer that stayed close to the owner of the Houston Texans mysteriously starts covering cases for a bunch of girls that come up with these allegations right after the contract was asked for. So, and this is the same owner that said, he made a comment about, inmates running up on prison when the NFL players were kneeling. So I'm not saying anybody did anything, but we just want to put everything into context. We're not going to say who's guilty, who's not, but Watson was not found guilty of most of these charges, so we'll never know. But it says Watson was unhappy with his contract before the allegations became public, and though he was not suspended by the league as they started to become public, he missed the entire season as the Texans had him on hold with non-injury reasons / personal matters designations for every single game. And see, the Texans have bounced back, whether you like them or not. They got a C.J. Stroud, which C.J. Stroud was basically what he is right now is what Watson was prior to all of this, allegations happening in the injuries. Okay, the Browns the Browns gave up first-round draft picks in 2022, 2023, and 2024, as well as a third-round pick in 2023, a fourth-round pick in 2022, and in 2024. That's too many picks, man. The first rounds in 3 years, that's enough. You don't give away a third round, and then you got to give away 2 fourth rounds. Like, they robbed them people. But anyway, okay. Then they signed Watson to a 5-year, $230 million contract that was fully guaranteed, a virtually unprecedented folly for such a large multi-year agreement. So that's why a lot of people want a lot more guaranteed money, which 5 years, $230 million, I can calculate that. But I think that's kind of like a decent deal nowadays. It wasn't back then because they signed that deal, 2 years ago? Yeah, 2022. So 2.5 years ago, because now people want to ask for 55, and then soon they're going to be asking for 65 or 70. I don't think they'll hit 70. My prediction is eventually the market will crash, and they'll realize that these quarterbacks, nobody can keep paying them that. Okay, so now if you break down $230 million over 5 years, he's actually getting 46, so he's not that far off. Okay, so I guess it's just made a $10 million, $9 million jump, but that's a big jump. But anyway, the article goes on to say the only way for this deal to come anywhere close to a equitable bargain would be if Watson came out playing at the level he had in 2020 In that season, he held the NFL passing yards. No, he led the NFL in passing yards. Sorry, I'm struggling to see. Okay, with 4,823, and he threw for 33 touchdowns and just 7 interceptions, and had a passer rating of 112.4, which was the NFL's second best, eclipsed only by Aaron Rodgers. So basically, he's been missing the action. These people are locked in to pay them all this guaranteed money, getting $46 million a year to play 6 games. That's not a bad deal, That's not a bad deal. I mean, Cleveland went to the playoffs with Joe Flacco, but for whatever reason, they decided to get rid of Flacco, and now he's a backup in Indianapolis. And one thing I don't like about it with a lot of these teams with these fragile quarterbacks, and it's really just a fragile coaching staff and front office that's afraid to take risks, because they didn't do that back in the day, and that doesn't work for championship franchises. You saw with New England and even with Kansas City, Mahomes is playing. But long story short, Watson being fragile, Aaron Rodgers being fragile, how is it working out for you guys? And then on top of that, the fragile egos. Aaron Rodgers didn't want Jordan Love there in Green Bay, so he kind of caused problems and got up out of there. And now he's acting like he's happy for Jordan Love. Maybe he is. Brett Favre did that to him. I wonder if Cleveland got rid of Flacco because he took them to the playoffs without Deshaun Watson. And my thing is, no matter how much money is involved, I hear a lot of novice and a lot of casuals speak about the money. Okay, you get paid to be a fireman. You still got to be able to put out fires. You get paid to be a dog whisperer like Cesar Millan. You still have to know how to whisper to dogs. It doesn't matter how much you're getting paid. You have to do your job. And part of doing your job as a football player is being able to compete. So if your backup quarterback is a threat to your starting quarterback, then maybe your starting quarterback is not worth what you're paying him. And I understand you're stuck in this deal, but hey, you got to pay it regardless. That doesn't mean run the team into the ground, because you got 52 other guys putting their body on the line. And I don't care how much you pay me. I feel like that's very inconsiderate if I'm putting my body at risk, my long-term health, to lose. We're not even attempting to win, or we're doing certain things. Like I saw something with another team, with the Dolphins, where they were saying they were force-feeding the ball to Tyreek Hill, and they had to draw plays for Waddle to get the ball for him to be pleased. All of that is nonsense. It's a team sport. If you can reach your accolades in the process of the team winning, great. But nobody cares about a guy that got 1,000 yards on a team that won 4 games, except for people that don't know football and really don't watch football. A lot of these NFL, college football programs run themselves into the ground because they're trying to cater to the casuals when it's the diehards. It's just like music. You can have 100,000 fans that show up to your shows and buy your albums, and this person might have 1 million people that look and click on Instagram, but the followers don't match the customers. So you got to look at your customer base, not just your follower base. That's a big problem in America now in sports and business. A lot of people don't know what they're doing. They think that attention is currency, and it's not. So if you got this guy that got a big contract, so what? And even with these contracts, I like what San Francisco's doing with Brandon Ayuk to a certain extent. 25, 26 million, you're not starving, sir. And I'm not counting nobody's pockets, but if we got a salary cap, everybody has to pull their weight in the salary cap. I'll go somewhere else. The no trade clause, I believe in the no trade clause if a player wants to stay with his team. But if you don't want to be with the team, then you don't want to go to New England. At this point, man, just play out your contract and goodbye, good riddance, because you're messing with team chemistry. A lot of guys that hold out, they get injuries once they come in, or they don't have the same effect like Deshaun Watson. It's not like something you could just turn on and turn off. There's a reason why we have practice 3 or 4 times a week. So that's just my take on that. If we touch on the NBA, I know some people like it, some people don't. But hey, this is a sports show. This is not just a football show, even though it's mainly football. So let's touch on some NBA. It's a guy named SGA out of Canada. Canada stand up. I want to touch on this guy really quick. You know what I mean? Pause, but you get what I'm saying. I'm not saying it in a weird way. SGA. I'm not seeing the story. Sometimes, I'm sorry, when I have the show planned out and we'll end up having to make a pivot. Okay, so we'll just touch on something from the same team. Let's just go to the Thunder, because I had a story for the Oklahoma Thunder with the guy SGA. He once was a role player, now he's coming into his own. but the article is not coming up. Okay, here it goes. Yeah, I hate when that happens. Okay, Avery Johnson gives SGA the ultimate praise. So we're going to read this one and we're going to get up out of here. Okay, the former head coach / NBA player, Avery Johnson. Yeah, it says the former head coach / NBA player, Avery Johnson, on why Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is his favorite guard. Okay, so when we scroll down, it says the NBA would have given Shai Gilgeous-Alexander a seal of approval after his historic 2023-2024 campaign. Among the three NBA MVP finalists, the 26-year-old carried a heavy mantle and led his team to a Western Conference leading 57 wins, the most of the franchise since 2015. That's not that long ago. They be trying to make it seem like, 5 years is a long time in sports, and it's really not. I'm not saying 2015 was 5 years ago, but it was less than 10 years ago. So 57 wins, that's cool. You're in the West. But anyway, this summer, Shai was met with a resounding praise after his Olympic debut. And although it ended short of a medal of any tier, so no gold, no bronze, none of that, no silver, the point guard was right there among the top performers in the tournament. And that's one thing I was saying. Even though the Dream Team in the 90s was a better team, a more talented team, I think this team played as a team. They were older guys mixed in with some young guys. And also they had more competition because it's more international NBA players and just better players internationally in general. And a lot of those international teams playing FIBA, which is like the year-to-year national tournament. You have Olympics once every 4 years, but FIBA is similar to FIFA with soccer. They do that every year, and they got world championships and things. But long story short, let's get back to the article. Looking ahead of the following season, the force field surrounding the Thunder guard is only growing. Okay, force field. I didn't know he was a superhero, but okay. Players of the past and present are beginning to take note, and SGA is on the verge of being listed as in the even higher pedestal if he can assemble another NBA MVP caliber season in 2024. The NBA MVP is very arbitrary, similar to the NFL MVP. That's why it's not as respected as the Heisman in college football or the Player of the Year award in college basketball, which is probably my favorite sport as I'm getting older. I love college football, but college basketball, that's starting to be my thing. And speaking of college basketball, let's see if they have the write-up on John Calipari. I saw this a while back. I don't know if it's still there. He left Kentucky and he's now at Arkansas. So, we got to look out for big things for Arkansas and also Kentucky. I believe they're going to meet in early January. So all you Kentucky fans, get your tickets ready. I don't think you're going to be able to be the same program without John, but we'll see. But I'm trying to pull up Kentucky really quick to see if this story is still there. I mean, Arkansas. I'm sorry. See, I'm still used to Calipari being at Kentucky. I'm see if I can get some of my friends from college on that are big basketball guys. I know back in the day when John Wall was there. I don't know if you guys remember that. Or when Anthony Davis was at Kentucky. We go back all the way back to those days. The one and dones. That's back when Kentucky could actually win championships, not taking any shots. Okay, so yeah, here goes the last article on Arkansas's Athlon website. It says John Calipari highly anticipated return to Rump Arena unveiled. So Arkansas head coach John Calipari highly anticipated return to Rump Arena to face Kentucky has been announced. So it says longtime Kentucky coach John Calipari has had one of the most thrilling yet stressful off seasons in recent memory. He went through a whirlwind with Kentucky about whether or not he would be back, then ultimately parted ways and was hired by SEC rival Arkansas to be the next head coach for the Razorbacks. See, a lot of these teams in college basketball and college football, they can hear and listen to the Paul Feinbaums and the Stephen A. saying, if you don't win the championship, if you just win your conference, fire the coach, fire the coach. That's why you're gonna start seeing is people like John Calipari and even Luke Fickell that left Cincinnati and didn't even try Ohio State. He went and took the Wisconsin job. You're gonna see better coaches take lesser jobs, but they can still attract the players. and they're just going to build a program instead of you having all that pressure out of Alabama or Miami or this or that. You know, some of these programs were not blue bloods until the 80s. So if you know the formula, you can build one. So Kentucky think they're bigger than John Calipari, maybe over extended time, but right now I think he has the formula, especially in this NIL transfer portal one and done era. I think he can get seniors, juniors, even sophomores together at a program like Arkansas and beat up on a lot of these teams with the top players. I mean, other than Duke, you know, and yes, I am a Dookie. You know, if you didn't know, I love Ole Miss and Duke in basketball, along with the Florida Gators. I don't hate Miami. I watch Miami, but I'm more of a football Miami guy, baseball Miami guy. But I will watch them, you know, because I'm all of Florida in the SEC. But let's get back to the article. It says, well, now the return to Rump Arena in Lexington, Kentucky has been noted and dated. Calipari will return to face his former team on Saturday, February 1st. Let me write that down. Yes. I'm sure they'll have Dick Vitale. They'll have game day there. And, you know, the people will be going crazy. I'm definitely looking forward to this. So I'm sure this is going to be an ESPN game. So on February 1st, we'll have John Calipari in Arkansas returning to Kentucky. So it'll be a face-off, man. So I hope the Blue Nation is ready. I am a Kentucky hater because I'm an Ole Miss rebel. I was there, you know, back when we was knocking them off. You know, shout out to Marshall Henderson. You know, shout out to all of the Ole Miss teams. Now we got Chris Beard. You know, I got to drop name drop. You know, and Ole Miss has done well in the portal and in recruiting. So look out for us to be doing well because we got the old Texas coach that had some allegations, and now he's coaching at Ole Miss. So our basketball team should be doing well too. So I'm looking forward to college basketball that's going to start early in November. They're going to have some games around like November 3rd. But college football is going to hold us on to then. That's going to be the show for the day. If you didn't get the picks, they're in the description, but let me bring them back up. It's going to be Cleveland Guardians. I almost said their old name. We got the Pittsburgh Pirates, Philadelphia Phillies, New York Yankees, and Toronto Blue Jays, all money line. So shout out to my NFL fans. We got our first NFL game. It's going to be Kansas City and the Ravens on Thursday. But some of us will be watching Coach Prime. So we'll be flipping back and forth because Colorado plays North Dakota State on Thursday. I believe Minnesota and Carolina play. I don't believe, I'm certain. But we're ramping up. Also on high school football, I'm very disappointed. I'm in denial. I don't know what happened. But 3 Florida teams blew leads. And 3 Broward teams, because y'all Broward people be talking, but y'all still our cousins, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to my country cousins, you know, Broward, Palm Beach, but 3 South Florida teams. I'm not going to say Broward teams, even though they're from Broward. Blew 3rd and 4th quarter leads to out-of-state programs. Milton, Georgia, shout out to them. They came from behind and won against American Heritage. Then we had St. John Bosco. They came back from behind and won against who did they play? I think they played St. Thomas. No, they played Chaminade. And then we had Bishop Gorman come back and beat St. Thomas. So that's very embarrassing. It was the Broward County Showcase, but it's still South Florida. The only team from South Florida that won in the Broward County Showcase was a team from Dade that beat a team from Broward County, and that was Miami Northwestern. They blew out Coconut Creek, but don't worry about that. Coconut Creek is good. Miami Northwestern, if you know about back in the day with Ja'Cory Harrison, them guys, they're a whirlwind. When they down, they down. They was down last year. But when they up, just move out of the way. You know, I used to play for the Baby Bulls, but these the big boys, you know what I mean? Baby Bulls is Gwen Cherry. You know, that sent a lot of people to know D1, high school, NFL, all of that. But so that's their feeder program. They have an actual Pop Warner team that wins national championships, that feeds the high school that wins national championships. And when they're down, all the kids go to Miami Central. So that's why you see Central up there so high. I mean, Central always good anyway, but the way Liberty City is, when Northwestern losing, people use their grandma address, their auntie address, they go to Central. Then when Northwestern back up, everybody go to Northwestern. So you got people from the subs, you got people from up there in Little River, but that's the city to me. I don't follow these new rules. All the way from Alapata, all the way up to Little River, as far as I'm concerned, that's the city. You know what I'm saying? If anything south of Opelika and north of down south, you know what I'm saying? If you on the west side of I-95 and you on the east side of Hialeah, that's the city, yo. You know what I mean? Feel me? So shout out to 95th Street, shout out to 71st, shout out to the 40s. My grandma used to live in the 40s. For y'all that didn't know, I ain't dropping no nose on where my people at now, but shout out to Northwestern because they were the only South Florida team that held it down, but they beat up on another South Florida team. So shout out to Creek for inviting Northwestern. They was out there dancing on the field, but don't feel bad because the West was just down a year ago. Everybody win, everybody lose. But that's gonna be the show for today.